You're listening to the Hot Pocket size version of this episode with Frank and Chris. To get access to the full Calzone version, go to patreon.com/nerdpreneur and become a member of the
Awesome Nerdpreneur Board.
Now, enjoy the show.
Keep it nerdy. Keep it nerdy. Keep it real nerdy. Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work. Life's a game, so I'ma take my turn. Nerds deserve to put their passion first, so let them rap a verse so they can all be heard.
Yeah, my nerdy passion basically is drawing.
I am a small, independent board game designer.
Correct. I'm a breeder of tarantulas, importing tarantulas and some other critters.
I am a harpist. I do mainly Celtic harp, video game songs, songs from nerdy TV shows.
So the experience that I'm currently creating and manifesting is D&D in a castle.
It's TTRPGs.
Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work.
Welcome to Nerdpreneur, where we have fun conversations with people making money with their nerdy passion. I'm joined, as always, with my co-host, Frank.
Hello.
And today, we have a very special guest. His name is Josh. Welcome to Nerdpreneur.
Hi, thanks.
So, Josh, what is your nerdy passion?
So basically, it's called the Empty Chest, and what we do is we've taken an open world video game or D&D game and brought it to life. And so if you were a guest and you were to come through our giant haunted village, you would be going on quests and talking to villagers to save their cat or break somebody out of prison to get coins that allow you to join the Guildmasters Guild, and then you can fight werewolves and orcs with bow and arrows.
Don't give away everything, man. It sounds like you got all your adventure hooks in there. That sounds awesome. Can we refer to you as a LARP? Is that what you're doing?
We call it LARPG.
Okay. Is that cooler or less cool than LARP? I'm not sure.
So yeah, like it's just a play on RPG and LARP, and so we just say LARPG, and so it's live action role playing, but also a game, and the fact that you literally it's just fully gamified.
Have you gotten some pushback from people thinking it's a LARP and they go, oh, I'm not into LARPs?
That's the tough thing. Like marketing wise, we try not to push too much of the LARP side of things, and we just kind of use it as a hashtag. And that's why we kind of lean on the Halloween marketing to be like, it's a haunted adventure, and people are like, sweet. But then when they get there, like it's like if you've ever that first time you brought your D&D friend or someone who was like too cool for D&D, and the first time they tried, they're like, holy crap, this is amazing.
Well, that's
Yes.
the thing about, I feel, so many of these nerdy passions we run into is that you don't really know how awesome it is until you do it. And when I was reading over your website, what I got the impression was almost like video game combined with being in it, right? With the role-playing aspects of it.
Exactly. Yeah, we try to kind of lean it more towards like think of a video game come to life, like any open world. If you've played Witcher or if you played Breath of the Wild, that kind of thing, just that open world, run around, solve quests, and don't die.
So can you die in this thing?
You can, yes. So like when you come in your groups, everyone has their life belt, and you can think of it like capture the flag football kind of thing. And so you've got the flags, and monsters will be trying to take those off of you. And as long as one person has at least one life in your group, you can still play.
Oh,
Whoa. Okay, so there's a fine line here because I want to know the rules, but I also don't want to go too deep into the rules because then we'd spend about 40 minutes just talking about those rules, as Chris and I can easily do.
And then Chris just edits everything out. So
We end up with a 20-minute episode. No, so I am very curious. You talk about this as if you've done it for a while already. How many years, how many runs have you done this?
So of this iteration, this is our fourth year, and the reason why it's our fourth year is it's the one we love the most. It's the one that has connected with audiences the most, and it's the one that's been growing the most. Yeah, so this is our fourth year doing the Empty Chest, and so we've had different types of life belts. We used to have a life vest. It's just changed and grown over time, and I like where it is now. And I'm excited because like it was a little linear when we first started, and now it's more open world, which is what I've always wanted. And we've even started a Kickstarter for our zombie open world, which is like getting quite a bit of traction too, which is awesome.
Well, we might know, we've had a zombie magician who's a professional zombie scarer on the podcast. I don't know if you noticed him, but Yeah, if you're looking to hire zombies from Germany, we can hook you up.
All right, let's do it.
He's way over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that does tie into one of my other questions around all of this. So you've been doing this for about 4 years. Do you have experience in the haunted industry, a haunted house, haunted park industry?
Um, I think I have as much experience as anyone who first starts out. Is like you go to enough and you go through there and you start to notice that a lot of them, in my opinion, they start to tend to be quite similar. And so I was going to like a bunch of different haunted houses. You wait in like a 1 hour long lineup, and then you go through and it's maybe 6 minutes long, and you're like, okay, that was quite the evening. And so I just wanted to change and adjust that. And so I built one in my front yard. I booked time slots for people, and I had them go through it. And we did all the money went to charity. We did it at the BC Children's Hospital, and
Great.
yeah, it was really fun. And then that was like what hooked me. I was like, I built it. I was kind of struggling. I didn't know exactly what to do. I was like, I'm just going to build this and hope for the best. And then we had this lineup down the block, across the street, in like the crosswalks. Like police were coming. They were like, "What's going on? Why are there so many
Wow.
people?" And I was like, I don't know.
Word
Yes.
of mouth, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Did you advertise, or was it just like, oh, tell your friends and people came out?
Kind of like I'd reached out to. We have this pretty big publication here called Vancouver's Awesome.
Yeah.
And they have like 6 million followers. And when they found out, they're like, "Oh, you're doing this for charity? We'll plug you." And then so one day, I think it was like 190,000 people had shared that post of us, and I was like, "Oh!" And like it was just like my front yard haunt. I was like, "You don't know, it's not as big as you think it is." And so this lineup, and we had to like eventually walk down the street and give the last person, like, "Here, you're the last person. Hold this sign." And so they held a sign that said, "I'm the last person." So people kept coming up and be like, "Oh, nuts!" Yeah, and I remember we were supposed to end at like 11 o'clock. I was the mummy. And so, because yeah, it was Egyptian themed, and so I was inside of a sarcophagus waiting for people to come in, and I'd pop out and then like drag myself along the floor and scream at them, and they would run away. And I was there till like 1:15 in the morning.
This is nuts. I love the MVP here that you've got. And I want to actually dive into a little bit. What was this product? What was this minimum viable product experience that you'd created for these people that everyone had lined up for?
So the difference of what we had done, I mean, save the lineup. I didn't expect the lineup to happen. Once I saw the lineup, I was like, "Oh my god, I got to change something," which is why we do booked ticket slots now. But we do, again, it's more of an adventure. So it was pitch black in there. You get a lantern that's like has like a flame inside, and you walk in and you have your little adventurer's bag, and it has like little tools inside. And when you get inside, you have to like use your tools to accomplish the tasks in order to open the chamber to get out of the other side. And so people really liked that interactive, like escape games were pretty big around that time too, so people were loving that. And so people were going in, they're using their lantern to look at stuff. And like we had a picture of like Anubis on the wall holding a canopic jar, which is all like the jars that all the organs go into. And then we had all of the jars on like the table with all the goopy, gross intestines and brains spilling out of them. And people had to like go in and try to find the right jar. And they'd use their tools to like open the jars and then like come back out. Yeah. So people were just loving that interactive side of it. And yeah, it just like blew up. And so that's why we were like, okay, people like to interact. People like the games. They like the tactile experience versus like, I think a traditional haunted house is more like walk through, don't touch stuff, and things will just scare you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very well. That's exactly what I was thinking of when it's a haunted house. I'm like, wow, okay, am I just going to walk through kind of very gated? It's not interactive, but as soon as you said you gave them an adventure bag, I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. What's that for? And now I'm
Yeah.
intrigued, right? And so to take that like initial concept, was it always rooted in horror? And is this all Halloween themed? Like it's kind of rooted in kind of that horror haunted house feel, but just much bigger?
Yeah, like I mean, we're not jump scares have never been my favorite thing. Like they're fun and I
Mhm.
like they're always good to have around, but like for me it was like more fantasy, and I think fantasy has a lot of scare elements to it, like vampires, werewolves, orcs. Like Lord of the Rings, I wouldn't say as a horror film by any means, but like there are some scary moments, like when the Balrogs come in, you're like, holy crap.
Right.
Yeah, intense, right?
Yeah, and so that's what we try to create is more of an intense experience versus a scary experience. And like when people arrive, they get like a map, they get their life belt, they get a little coin pouch to collect all their coins in as they walk around, and then they have like certain things they have to do, like in order to go to the archery and fight the monsters, they must take their archery lesson with the archery master, and then they get a pin that allows it. Like, so there's certain little things that you're allowed to get that allow you to go into other areas of the haunt.
That's so cool.
It sounds awesome. Yeah, and I think like when you say intensity, that automatically makes me think of the difference between like an average D&D game and like a really great Dungeons and Dragons game. And it's kind of the same with like a really great game of football versus an average game of football. It's the level of intensity, and intensity is also another word for immersion. And what I'm hearing is that you help create a really immersive experience for people going through this, and that's why maybe they get a little scared at times, but it's just because it's more of an intense experience, or they're more immersed within the reality of what it is.
Absolutely. Like one of the biggest things that I wanted to create was a fear of loss. Because I think that once you feel you can lose something, you got more skin in the game. Like a haunted house, you can jump and you can scare, but you know it's all like, I can't be hurt. No one's gonna touch me. It's all fine. But two things that we changed is one, we have professional stunt actors, professional bodyguards, professional just actors in general who kind of understand and know what is and isn't safe. You know, they take many courses. And so one of our main rules is we can touch you, you can't touch us.
Whoa.
And yeah, and so like people are like, they see that first rule and they're like, wait, what? And so like, because there's certain things that like we're trying to take your life force, but we can't have you willy-nilly waving weapons at us. But we know that like we're not going to touch you harmfully. We're not going to do any like thing weird. We're just here to like give you an experience. And the second one was the life force. You have something to lose. You have an ability to be like, we're going to kick you out if you like. So they're really in it. They're like, crap, everyone. Like, I remember this group of guys, they got together, they were coming through, and they're like, all right, everyone back to back and just spin, just constantly spin. And they're just shooting arrows and spinning like no one can touch us. It was really awesome to see.
This just sounds fun. Is this something that like you can bring a date to, or do you have to have like 10 people to do this, or like how does that work?
Because it's an open world, like you can bring, like we do the max kind of group just because of like the tent spaces and the villages and the prison. Cause like you can also do like if you do something wrong, like if you try to steal something and you get caught, we have a prison and we lock your group in there. And so we the max your group can be is 4, but you could do 1, 2, or 4.
Oh, cool.
No 3.
I mean, you could, but the big thing about 3 is that you'd just be paying for a 4-person ticket. We don't have a 3-person ticket. So I guess you could buy 2 and then 1, but
I see what you mean. So the thing that you have done over the years, and that this is the 4th iteration of, is a Halloween monster archery haunt.
Correct.
When does it start? Like, when is it open to the public, and when does it close to the public?
October 21st at 5 p.m. is our very first group going through, and then October 31st at 10 p.m. is our last group.
So this goes on for how many hours?
Most people, like we suggest 2 hours. You come in, you have a 2 hours, there's food, there's beer, there's a tavern, there's monsters, like you can explore around. And then around the 2-hour mark, we start to be like, we encourage you to like, do your last mission and then booty scoot out. And if you don't, then the guards will arrest you again.
Okay. All right. So there's a series of quests. So just to get an idea of what the experience is, but I treading that fine line of not spoiling the adventure, what can a person expect in their first maybe 15 minutes when they get there?
All right. So when you arrive, like before you pass the threshold that is Ravencroft, there's going to be like a sign that kind of gives you the rules and like what to expect a little bit, and then you'll get your gear pouch, your life forces, your map, that kind of thing, and then we say like any questions you have, you can ask them here. But once you're inside, everyone's in character, so no one's going to be like hold your hand. So you need to come back out if you have those kind of questions. But otherwise, you're in it and you can ask questions. And the second they get in there, they'll be walking around. There'll be music from the Lord of the Rings. There'll be like different sort of sound effects you'll hear. And then the first thing you see is the tavern. And you kind of go there and, the bartender will be like, well, what can I get you? What brings you to town? That kind of thing. And they're like, I don't know. They're like, well, why are you here? Why are you wearing those weird clothes? Like that kind of thing. And like, and there'll be a bard playing music. And then it kind of just, you're in it. You're started, and you might walk across a dead body with like a plague doctor being like, have you seen anyone around that might have done this? Where were you on June 14th? And they're like, I don't know. And so like it just starts to develop in that way. And then all of a sudden the next thing you know, you're like, okay, well, our map says to go to the guild master's tent. Maybe we should like check out the guild master. And he's like, okay, well, if you want to be a part of the guild, you've got to pay. No one gets in for free. And I know there's a lot of odd jobs. So why don't you just go talk to the blacksmith? And so and away it starts, and then you just start chatting, and people have quests, and like he's missing a hammer, and yada 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 yada.
I'm getting very Westworld vibes here. Like,
yeah,
but like RPG, right? That's very very cool. So I know Vancouver is known for well, you can basically throw a stone and hit any actor, but like, do you have a process for finding actors that are like good for this, or did you just kind of get a troupe together and you guys have created this experience, or?
We have an amazing stage manager who is part of like an old troupe, and she has just been in the theater industry for decades. And so she just knows everyone who has been a roving artist, circus performer, actor, you name it. And so we just, grab that group of people that we just know are fantastic at it. And we're like, year after year, they're going to keep just building, because like every year the larger we grow, we're just going to add new stories, new quests. Very similar to like Westworld, when they're like, all right, we're going to try the new destruction of the so and so, like, so we're going to keep adding stuff like that, which is great.
Very cool. So you get like a whole casting for it, right?
Yeah.
If you ever need a cappella singers, I know a group up there.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing you could have a couple of them off to the side, or if the bard's got to take a day off, or maybe the bard was killed, who knows? But yeah,
I would have made an a cappella gangster.
Ooh, a cappella gangster.
That's awesome. I wanted to go back to your original like front yard haunted house for a second, and that sounded like it was a unexpected success, right? Like things went well there. How did you go from that first sort of stumble into success that this thing worked to now I'm going to create a business that I charge money for and hire actors and create a whole experience and bring that into a real fruition?
Through a lot of trial and error, actually. I did that, and I stupidly decided to go from the small haunt to the biggest thing ever without having a big enough following, and unfortunately it failed. It died, it crashed, it burned, and I had to shut it down. I had to close it. I had to like business gone bankrupt kind of situation, and then wait a little bit and then start again. And when we started again, this iteration kind of had everything that the other one didn't, but also got rid of all the stuff that made it bad. Like for example, it was called Fearmongers, and it was good, or at least it was trying to be good, just didn't have the money, the backing, the marketing behind it yet. And so I was trying to build an outdoor world inside of a 12,000 square foot warehouse. And so the cost to do that, like I'm like, oh, this will be great. And then I get there and it's just astronomical. It's well above what I'm able to do. The construction workers don't know what I want. It's super confusing. We're running into like hiccup after hiccup. Just like, it was just like a comedy of errors over and over again, to the point where we're like, this is like, it just doesn't work. And then it didn't work. And so then we're like, well, what if we do it outside instead of paying to build it indoors? Like that makes no sense. And since then, like, and obviously all the costs go down because you're not paying rent on a monthly 12,000 square foot warehouse in Vancouver.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Wow. And I mean, this is pretty seasonal too, right? So you'd be just doing it really around October, and I guess I heard you do something like kind of at Christmas too, maybe, or
exactly. So we're this, like right now we have the one. We're going to be doing Christmas, which gives us 2, and then hopefully next year we can add the zombie, as long as that Kickstarter keeps going. And then we want to do a pagan one or something. That one, I'm not married to that one. Our team like keeps being like, can we try this? Can we try this? I'm open to whatever, as long as it works. The theme works. We're all happy. The actors love it. And then we can do something for spring. 'Cause every 3 months, I'd love to do one.
So that first iteration of your business, the first time you kind of failed, what did you really learn from that first failure? What were some of the lessons that you take forward with you now?
Yeah, the biggest lesson is I have delusions of grandeur, if you will. Like I think way too big, and I have a good group of people around me. Like, I tried to do it by myself, which I thought was stupid. Like looking back, like just not a good idea. And then secondly, like I have these huge ideas that I want to get all of them in, and it's got to be perfect. And so like the idea of perfection, I've switched to progress, not perfection. And then the big was like, no, you can start small, build a community, and then just slowly grow within yourself, make it organic. And that's worked a lot better over time as well. And then having a bunch of people that are better than me surrounding me. I can't do it all. I'm human. I make tons of mistakes, obviously, hence the failed business. And I just like, for example, Maris being our stage manager, couldn't do it without her because she just gets the actors, knows what they need, is this go-between. I can't think of all the stuff that she thinks of, and she comes up with all these answers. Benson is our like prosthetics and creature creator. He makes all these huge monsters that I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, hey, what would be like a fun? And he's like, I'm already on it. It's already created. Here it is. I'm like, awesome, amazing. Now we have a beholder. I love it.
Wow.
There's a beholder?
Oh, there's a beholder. Yeah.
That's all I needed to know. I'm showing up to find out who the beholder is. That's
The
awesome.
deeper we get in this conversation, the more sold I am.
Nice.
This makes me so giddy.
Do you get burned out doing this at all as like a business owner? Or is it tough, like especially this time of year? And if you
Heck yeah.
do, if you do, how do you kind of keep going and get through that?
So there's a couple of ways. Like at the end of it, total detox, relax, reset, recharge kind of thing. But while I'm in it, I mostly like my versions of meditation, which are like movies, video games, exercise are kind of my big thing. Like I'm a huge acrobatic guy. I do tons of flips and tumbling on the floor and do partner acrobatics with people. Unfortunately, this summer I tore my ACL.
Ooh.
So yeah, it was a rough one. Got the surgery, and now like I can walk again, which is great. So I'm back to walking, but it's going to be another maybe 2 to 3 months before I'm actually like doing dynamic movement and stuff like that. So it's not too bad. It's like they said 6 to 12 months, but I'm on the 6-month range kind of thing. Just with I think because I'm so active, my body's responding decently to it. So that's like a huge thing. Just like get some like flex every muscle, flex your brain, flex your soul, flex your body, just work out, meditate, whatever. And again, it's whatever your version of meditation is. It doesn't have to be sitting holding your palms in whatever lotus. You totally can like play a video game and think of that as meditation. It's whatever prevents you from thinking about all of the chatter outside, and you can just like be yourself for 30 minutes. It's so lovely. And so like for me, sometimes that's kickboxing, sometimes it's playing Cuphead. Like,
hold on. You find Cuphead relaxing?
Right? I love a hard game. The harder the game, the more relaxed I am.
All right. So you're
Dark
a glutton
Souls?
for punishment, like Dark
Yes.
Souls. I was just gonna
love Dark Souls.
Oh man. I tried Elden Ring and that wasn't as punishing as the other Dark Soul games, but man, that was I don't know, man. I like me a fluffy, rewarding experience that's gonna make me feel like a champ.
Yeah.
Or a Far Cry guy.
Yes.
Far Cry. Far Cry's so fun though. Actually, Far Cry.
I love Far Cry.
Yeah, it was so good. I think it was which was the one where it was like in Thailand? Was that the fourth or the third?
The fourth one, I believe,
Right.
was in Thailand. It's kind of like a fake Thailand.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was the the game that was like, if this was a real thing, like if I was inside this tropical world on these little helicopters and ATVs driving around while people were shooting at me, of course, safe shooting. Like I was like, if you could create this, I think this would be everything.
It is a very immersive game. And that's
Yeah.
like for me, when I think about parallels to the experience you're creating, it's kind of like, wow, if you could do an intense like jungle version of that somewhere, like that would be a really cool thing to do and like create an experience in like Costa Rica or something like that, you know?
Heck
where
yeah.
people get to go do that.
It'd be so nice. Also, I think like booze and like is cheaper down there, and so is like a lot of things. So like I just think in general it might be an easier place to make something like that.
Is that one of your biggest expenses, given Canada and all that, for this project? Is the beer?
No, the biggest expenses come down to like wages and materials, and yeah, I mean alcohol too, because like you got to think of like if you ever been to Mexico on those all inclusive trips or something like that, like it's like $150, and they like it's anything you want. You get to stay, drink, eat, all for free, and you're like, how is anyone making money, or how are we so brainwashed up here?
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I was thinking about is like we have these things called D&D in a Castle. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but people are creating these sort of nerdcations. Okay. And I'm thinking about it like if you have that ability to create that sort of experience for people, how cool would it be to be able to create like a Far Cry style experience partnered up with some, hotel or an area or a bunch of places down there that you could be able to do that and then have it be like immersive over the course of like 7 days or a 4 day vacation. I expect people to pay for D&D in a castle, but it's also like it's not a cheap experience. It is something that people will pay a significant amount to do. And to do that and have enough coming in, I don't know. They seem pretty stressed out. Listen to that episode before you actually say yes to that idea. Just so you know, I'm not the guy who's volunteering to do it, but I'm thinking out loud. That sounds like a really cool idea to grow a business that way. Is that at all something you would actually do?
Yeah, I think the end goal for me, we're trying to. So we're a nonprofit as well, and we raise money, we get grants. That way we can pay the actors and ourselves and stuff like that, as plus ticket sales. That way we can also donate money to charities like BC Children's Hospital, the Northern Dog Rescue, the Firefighters Fund, anything like that. What we're trying to raise money for right now is a $75,000 legitimate. I think it's like a legitimacy report, and what they do is they check to see feasibility report. That's it. It is a $75,000 feasibility report, and they check to see if they can do a theme park version of what you want. And so they'll go and they'll map it out, and you tell them exactly what you want, and they'll like do all the marketing, and they'll check in, they'll test everything, they'll check the area, they'll see how much it would cost to build it, and then once they would say okay, if you charge this is how much you'd have to charge, this is how many people would have to come, this is how often people would have to be coming, and this is how many staff you'd have to have, and how much you'd have to pay them, and how much food they would do all of that for you and test it all out to see if it works. And so that's what we're trying to go towards, because I think it would be absolutely amazing to do exactly what Chris is talking about, like partner with some hotels and just be like, look, this is an experience where you come in, you pay your hotel thing, and it's included, where you now go for 2-3 days, 1 day, whatever it happens to be, whatever is figured out in the story wise, and you're just on this epic open world, driving ATVs, doom buggies, people are shooting at you, you got this mission, you got your bag of your go bag. That is the end goal, is to build that. So when you were saying that, I was like, yes, you're saying well, if you want to sign some contracts after, we can make that happen.
It's I'm the kind of guy who's I would like to do that experience. And I think about Westworld as I think that would be really fun to be able to go have that experience and do sort of a Westworld type thing. Doesn't have to be in the West, but just something in that immersive, open concept, doing missions kind of world. Because it is then it's a real vacation. It's like a vacation from even who you kind of are. You get to explore different aspects. And someone who was a theater actor. I basically like that exploration. That's a cool thing to do with my vacations, is go be somebody else for a little bit.
Heck yeah! That was and that was a big thing about Westworld, is the main guy who Ed Harris played him, or the Poils in his younger version.
That's right. It was.
Yeah. He finds a part of himself he didn't realize was there, and I think that's out there for a lot of people. Is this idea that we kind of, the idea of wearing masks, you put it on okay, I'm in society, I've got to be polite, I've got to be kind, and doesn't mean that you're none of those things. It's just how fun would it be to be okay, today I'm Goblor the barbarian, and you just run around axing people down with no consequences, and how does that feel, and is that okay, and knowing that it's safe, no one's getting harmed, you get to run around, you're getting exercise outdoors, you're with your friends, you're on this huge amazing experience, and for that, however long that lasts, you forgot the rest of the world existed. And I think that's something.
That's exactly what it's so funny to hear you echo that, man, because that was a huge point with D&D in a castle. I feel like Chris really touched on it really good about the idea of, having a multiple day kind of adventure. And I do believe that Wizards of the Coast has sort of paved the way with the success of D&D 5e, that more and more people are interested in that kind of experience. We've got so many people who play video games, and there's starting to be more of this role playing going on, that I do believe that there is going to be a demand. There's going to be a hunger for that kind of entertainment. And it sounds like you've seen that writing on the wall, because you're already looking into this feasibility report, which is that's not a small goal.
No.
No, definitely not. Well, and it's also, I think, and I'll just comment on that there, Frank, because I actually think that you're 100% right that there are people that are going to be craving these types of experiences, especially post-pandemic, and especially with people moving into cell phones so heavily and living in this digital world and living on screens and all of that. I think all of that's contributing, but I don't necessarily think that it's going to be Wizards of the Coast that is actually going to guide us there, because I think they're moving this D&D 1 away from a lot of that in many, many ways because of the things. Controversial D&D opinion, but we'll just put it out there. But I actually think that there will be a reaction to what they're doing in 5e, and that reaction will lead people to Josh.
Hey, I'll take it.
Exactly. So let's talk about when you started this. Did anyone call you crazy?
Yeah. You get a lot of the like, oh, like that's good for you. Like not quite, like they just don't get it, right? And then until you create it, and then once you create it, then you're like, then they start to get it. And even then, unless they come, it's super hard. Like even when you're saying like you read the website, or you kind of like, the longer I talk, the more you're like, oh, right? Like, and so it's like until you actually go through it, it's so hard to explain to people. And when I first was like, I remember so many times I'm like, okay, so I'm in my front yard and I'm hammering away and drilling and building this basically giant pyramid in my front yard. And all the time people would walk by with their thousands of opinions that are unsolicited, like, oh, you're not doing that right, or that's not straight, or, and I was like, hey, you can help me if you want. And they're like, oh no, I got stuff to do. I was like, thank you very much.
Good response.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like what do you do? Like, I don't want to get mad at them, and if they have good advice, I'll take it. But so all the time, it just felt like they just wanted to like be heard. And then I got this 5-ton load of sand delivered, and they just dumped it onto the platform, and then I built the pyramid around the sand, and everyone was just like, what are you going to do with that sand when you're done? I was like, I haven't gotten that far yet, just I'm going one day at a time here. Which is funny, because that's the great thing I like about East Vancouver is when I was done, I put all the sand into little buckets out front. It was like free sand. It was gone. It was gone in hours.
That's hilarious.
Whoa.
That is very Vancouver.
It's a sustainable lawn replacement, I suppose.
I have no idea, but like it was just so funny. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put these out here. I'm gonna put it all along the sidewalk, and it was like 80 buckets of sand. It was so much sand, and I was like, I'm gonna get in trouble. I went inside, grabbed my dog, went for a walk. We came back, and half the sand was gone. I'm like, are people just walking around Vancouver with buckets of sand?
Wow.
You know what? You raise the value by putting it in a bucket and creating scarcity. It's like there's only so many buckets, man. There's only so many buckets left of sand. I got to get them while they're hot.
Yeah.
We actually did have a bucket shortage a couple of years ago during COVID. Is that where they were?
I took them all.
Handed away buckets.
God damn it, Josh.
For free. The buckets alone were worth $25.
Yeah. They were dollar store buckets, and they were like pretty big. They were like a good, like, I think like they were like 4 liter, a gallon bucket. And so I just had them there, just kept filling them with sand to try to get it. And then also I think we put a good, like, just kind of raked the rest into the grass and hoped the landlord didn't notice.
So you mentioned all of these opinions and, these people kind of giving you the unsolicited advice. What would be some of the advice, now that you've had a chance to look back, that you would give yourself in those early days?
Yeah, I think the early days, the biggest thing I'd say is slow down. I desperately want what Chris is talking about, this like go to Costa Rica kind of thing, and like have this like, or like D&D in a castle. Like I want that now, and I want it today, because I think people would love it so much. But the biggest thing I think is that something that I used to believe when I was younger, because I watched Field of Dreams, was that if you build it, they will come. And I just don't think that's true anymore with the amount of stuff that's out there. Like our world is so saturated with a billion things to do. And even if you don't want to do those things, you can just stay inside and watch Netflix, like you don't have to do anything, and you can be so entertained that you can't just simply build something and people will show up anymore, because it's not like there's a reason why like the traveling circus doesn't just have everyone in town going to it anymore. You've got to advertise. And so I think like the idea of like just building a small community of people that like it, and then once that sells out, going to the next level, and then selling that out, and then going to the next and just keep repeating that process. Because the year that I died, I was like, okay, I'm going to go from a tiny thing in my front yard to 12,000 square feet. It just didn't work. And so like the first 3 years we sold out, and it was a very small version. It was like a one linear version. Then the second year was a bit bigger, more actors, more people, sold out again. Third year grew it like a little bit bigger. And then now we're like, okay, I think we're at that stage where we can take that step. And, you know, we also got the support of Burnaby Tourism loves what we do. And so they like jumped on board and were like, hey, we want to support. We want you to be in Burnaby this year. We're like, great. We love that. And then I kind of reached out to some local businesses. Steamworks Brewing is in Burnaby, and they're like, we'll sponsor. I was like, this is incredible. So Steamworks Brewing is sponsoring us. We got all this beer.
So
and
you're
so like
licensed?
we are licensed. We are a licensed haunt. Yeah. So you can come
right.
grab a couple of some mead, some brew dog, some pumpkin ale.
Chris, he's not just talking about beer being given away at his event and he's not licensed. Come on, this is Canada, for Christ's sake. He'd be shut down tomorrow.
I just wanted to make sure everyone heard it.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
We are licensed. Yeah. Yeah. And so like that idea, like it's like the slow growth, like, because like for me, and maybe it's like the society we grew up in where it's like that instant oatmeal, need it today, need it right now. But like I have to stop that. And so the advice I give my old self is like, Josh, stop, take a breath. You don't need to, like, why don't we start with 1,000 square feet? Why don't you start outside and see if people come? And I give that advice to lots of friends who ask me that kind of thing where, we like the way I call it, or the way like some of my old mentors used to call it, they called it playing business versus doing business. And things like playing business would be like getting your business cards together before you get your first client. Like you spend money on getting these cards. It doesn't give you anything. It makes you feel good inside, but doesn't actually accomplish anything. And so it's like having that conversation around like, how can I do something that's actual tangible that grows my business? And those things are like getting a guest, talking to someone, getting them in to give you money and see what that looks and feels like, even if it's something small. Building a website, if that's where your ticket sales are, things like that actually can get people to test it and give you advice on it.
There's so much in what you just said there.
Yeah, man.
I have had, I can't tell you how many times I've run into people who are like, yeah, you're right, buying the business card before they have any revenue or any money coming in. They don't even have a client. And it's like, it's like, why do you need a logo, or why do you need this? Why do you need all these other things if you don't even have a product yet, right?
Yeah.
And so I just think people need to hear that, and all of them who are playing at business, definitely let's get in the game for real, right? But that brings me to my next question for you is, how do you get the word out about this beyond amazing nerdy podcasts like this?
Yeah, and again, I think it comes down to those tangible things. Like, for example, going to like D&D game shops. Like there's a place called Stronghold Games, and just going up and like, hi, do you mind if I put up a poster right here? Or is there an event like your next Magic card gathering? Can I sponsor something? And just ask a couple of quick questions and talk to people through it. Once people hear me talk about it, they're sold. But if they see it or hear from a friend, they're kind of sold. And if they just see it in passing, who knows, right? And so little things like that, where you just walk up to people, talk to nerds. Like we've called a bunch of different shops. One thing that I loved that I did is we took one of our sponsors' beer, put it in a severed hand, put that in a tiny treasure chest with a bunch of different potions, and gave that to different people on like Instagram or TikTok who have some clout. And we're like, hey, here's a free box with some free tickets, and just do whatever you want with it. Every single person was like, I've never received something like this before. They all opened it. We're like, I've got to put this on my channel. And people were like, holy crap. So like things like that are really great ways that are tangible ways that aren't me like, oh, I'm going to buy $10,000 worth of ad space, or I'm going to get my business card, or I'm going to like sit back and think about my logo. Like exactly, like that stuff doesn't get people in the door.
Yeah, you really have to know where your market is. And it sounds definitely like you have given thought to that, because it's like, okay, you can have a lot of efficiency by putting up a poster in a place where nerds are shopping. Yeah. Versus 10,000 posters all over downtown Vancouver may get you nothing, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like you have to know where your market is to really be efficient with your cost per advertisement. So that's really smart. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead and segue.
Yeah, let's do it.
Some D100, some random rolls. So, do you have a D100 handy?
I do. I got the digital one ready to go.
Sweet.
All right, here we go. Boom. 35.
What's the best Wi-Fi name you've ever seen?
Oh, My neighbor upstairs was this lovely couple, 2 women upstairs, and their Wi-Fi was "fuck my dirty hole." I was just like, it was so intense.
It's so violating just the thought that you're like, I don't want to use that.
Yeah, I'm not at all.
I'm never gonna try to join that Wi-Fi.
No, I don't. And that's the thing is, I think that was the point. That was obviously, and I was like, cool. That's you. You enjoy that Wi-Fi.
This episode suddenly, like, that just brought like our
We're gonna have to put a
tone
rating now. Yeah.
to a totally different place. I mean, like we said, swearing's fine, but holy. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, go ahead and roll again.
All right, here we go. Next roll, 91.
One movie you can watch over and over.
Whew, I have a few. Lord of the Rings is up there. I usually watch it 2 to 3 times a year, sometimes just in the background. It's just quote the whole thing, start to finish. I love it. I love that whole world. And it's like, I also think about how I felt like during it, like when I watch it. And I was like, I haven't really gotten anything recently that has made me so engrossed that I'm like, I'm going to put it on again. And I don't know if that was my age at the time, or if just movies aren't as good, or if there's just too much stuff, or like what it is. But yeah. And another one's like Fifth Element.
Yes.
Oh, Fifth Element's so rewatchable. Like,
yeah,
it holds up so
It
well.
it is like date number 4. At least when I was single, it was always date number 4. I was like, so have you seen The Fifth Element? And it was always no. And so I was like, great, I know what we're gonna do for a date, because this movie's amazing.
It is
like Bruce Willis back then.
Fifth Element is ready to move.
Yeah, like that's a good way too. Like on a 4th date, right? Like you're like, we're gonna, it's happening, right? Yeah, it's just like the way it's edited too. Is it's so like good for like today's ADD youth of like, just like it bounces around. It has great. It's so good. It's so good.
Colorful and bright. There's never a dull moment. Like, it's action to the net. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, all right. Now we're gonna go ahead and go to the last section here, the last segment, rapid fire questions. This is where we ask some pretty quick questions, and you give one or a few word answers, and we'll tell you whether you're right or wrong.
Dope.
So, last thing you ate?
Hot dog.
Hot dog.
Are there hot dogs at this venue?
There might be. Steamworks is also doing the food, so they're doing beer and food, so there'll be lots of stuff for people to eat and drink and enjoy.
3 favorite pizza toppings.
I'm vegan, so vegan cheese, barbecue sauce, and pineapple.
That's how you're able to retain those lists, is because you're vegan and your blood is pure.
Like, it gives you superpowers. I hear that all the time.
Pure human blood.
Yeah, we've all seen Scott Pilgrim. You get vegan powers.
I forgot about that. Oh my god. What was the last 3 books you've read?
The last 3 books I read, one is called All About Love. The one before that was a Brene Brown book. And then I was the second installment of Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.
Dude, wow.
Yeah, desperately waiting for the 3rd one.
Well, no, Brene Brown, totally. I'm working on Daring Greatly right now, and I haven't read her books yet, so that's why I'm starting. But then, yeah, I haven't read the second Name of the Wind, but I did not Way of Kings. That's Brandon Sanderson. I'm finishing that right now. But the what the King Killer Chronicles? There we go.
The Kill, yeah, exactly. And I'm about to start the Mistborn series, so.
Ooh.
So yeah, gonna check that one out. I'm excited. People keep telling me about it, so I'm like, all right, I'm on it.
Yeah. I mean, did you read The Way of Kings?
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Okay. Spoilers for anybody. No, I won't spoil anything. All I'll say is that
I'm on the call. I've never read it. I don't even care.
It came out so long ago.
Here.
It was, yeah, I know. Okay, I won't ruin anything. I won't ruin anything. I'm just gonna say at the ending, man, this is like by far one of the best books, best endings, best 1,200 pages I've ever read.
It feels good. Like I felt good at the end. I wasn't like that. Like it's good.
It's always nice when things end well.
Yeah.
So, other than vegan, what superpowers would you want?
Wolverine's healing. Like, I would like the ability to heal because, like, it makes you kind of ageless, and you probably lose a lot of fear in doing a lot of things. Like, you wouldn't be like, oh, I got to do this, not this. It's like, I can do it all because who knows how long I'm going to live. There's no fear about getting injured or hurt. Like, I feel like you could do and accomplish so much. Like, and again, like, especially after like tearing my ACL, I'm like, man, if I could just heal, that'd be dope.
That'd be so good.
That would be really nice. It's like, I did this stupid thing, especially if someone's prone to accident or injury.
Yeah, right.
Then you'd really want to be like Wolverine or Deadpool.
Yeah, and also, like, if you really kind of like break it down in a nerdy science way, is like DOMS, your delayed onset muscle soreness when you work out, wouldn't exist. Like, every time you exercise and tear a muscle, it's healing. You're going to get so strong so fast, and like, you're just going to get really good at stuff like immediately. Like, even just like playing guitar, you're just going to like, your body's going to build those synapses. Like, everything's just going to heal so much faster. And yeah, like, it's just exciting to think of how amazing any one person could be with that kind of power.
Logan totally missed out on the ability to learn shit really fast.
Yeah, I feel like you would if things are healing quickly inside your brain, inside your like everywhere. Like, I feel like you really would if you break it down and look at it that way.
Wow,
totally makes sense. You could learn the flute.
Yeah, no, like calluses.
It'd be kind of funny to watch Wolverine playing a flute, though.
Yeah, that would feel a little out of place.
Go watch The Music Man in New York. I bet you he does it.
The Music Man?
Yeah, isn't that Wolverine on stage? I swear he's like
Hugh Jackman
right now. Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
I think he's doing The Music Man right now.
You got to be careful when you say Wolverine in New York. I actually think that it's a musical where
about Wolverine.
I would actually watch Wolverine in New York as a musical. Can we do a Kickstarter for that?
It's a musical about how he's lost in New York and he doesn't know how he got there.
I'm Canadian. What do I do?
Well, this was awesome, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me.
To share everything with us.
And how can people, if they want to go through this experience, how can they find it, and where should they go?
So you can go online to theemptychest.com. That's where it has all the information, has everything you need, has all the actors listed on there too. If you want to see the artists and a little bit about them as well, that'll be up there. A little bit about like our sponsorship and everything, ticket prices, all that stuff. Everything you can learn will be at theemptychest.com. You can always just send us a message, be like, Josh, I saw the podcast. What's up? And I'll be like, hi. That's always a funny thing that I think people forget about too, is like, I am the one running the back end. Like, I don't have a virtual assistant or someone running. So when people email me like questions every day, it's like, it's just me. And I'm like, hi. And they're like, oh, your response rate is so well. I'm like, it's just me.
And this is in the Vancouver area, the greater Vancouver area, or Burnaby, right?
Yeah. So Burnaby like lies within Metro Vancouver. So it's at a park called Warner Loot Park. And Burnaby, again, all that stuff's on the website. And yeah, like, it's like a 10-minute walk from the SkyTrain. It's like pretty like a 10-minute, 15-minute drive from Vancouver. Like, it's not far at all, which is really nice. I think that'll help a lot with visibility and people checking it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go, man. I'm gonna make the plans. So I'm in Seattle, so I'm gonna make it happen. I'll be up there sometime. I'm super excited.
Nice. Get your ass to Mars.
Yeah. Sick. Well, thanks again, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, and let's keep it nerdy.
Yeah, keep it very nerdy. Ciao, guys.
You just finished the Bruce Banner-sized version of this interview with Josh from The Empty Chest. For the Hulk-sized version of this interview, including an extra 40 minutes of epic business tips, nerdy random rolls, and rapid-fire questions, go to patreon.com/nerdpreneur to sign up to be a member of our awesome Nerdpreneur board. It's only $10 a month to join, and you'll get access to the full version of every Nerdpreneur interview and Talkin' Nerdy episode. Plus, board members can submit rapid-fire suggestions and questions for our monthly AMA episode. You'll get all this for less than the cost of a Romulan ale a month to help us turn this nerdy passion project into a full-time nerdy success story. Thanks again, and keep it nerdy.